everyone, it's Sharonda from Payorwait, and today I'm going to be reviewing and recapping Power Book 2 Ghost Season 3, Episode 10, Divided We Stand. We have finally made it to the Season 3 finale, and I was a little disappointed, y'all. I'm not going to lie. I was a little disappointed. I just felt like there were things that happened in this episode that I felt like the characters that we've come to know and know over the past 3 seasons, I just don't think that they would have fell for all the craziness that happened in this week's episode. I'll be very interested to know in the comment section below about the finale. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Are you excited about season 4? But let's go ahead and let's get into all of this that was happening, okay? So we see that Drew, he deleted the pictures of Gordo out of his phone. Diana and Drew, they decide to team up because they just feel disrespected by Monet, which she does do a very good job, especially of disrespecting Diana. But they said they had enough. She got to go. And I was like, y'all know y'all not about that life. But I guess they were kind of sort of about that life, but not really. But in the meantime, Jenny and Blanca, they are still like going strong trying to get Tariq and Tejadas. But right now, Effie behind bars for attempting to murder Lauren. They think that they can still flip her after they actually have her in, jail. After a couple of days, they feel like she would just have had enough and then she can go ahead and flip on the Tejadas and on Tariq as well. So, they're interviewing Lauren to let her know, like, hey, this is what the trial is going to look like. Lauren looks like she is still going through it. Like, she's been through a lot. She's been in WITSEC this entire time. She's been away from her family. She doesn't really know who to trust. Like, should she believe them about what Tariq is capable of? She doesn't really know. And I have to say that Jenny and Blanca, they don't really do a good job of trying to make her feel comfortable at all. Just like, y'all are failing at this whole trying to convince your witness that she needs to testify. And that you can actually protect her because as we seen from last week's episode, and that we seen for what happened with Sax, you were not able to protect your witnesses, like, at all. But we see that, Tariq and them, they come up with this plan and they get Lauren to basically recant her story and flip on Jenny, saying that Jenny was the one who set me up for all of this, which I was like, she was between a rock and a hard place. At the end of the day, as we learn from this Power universe, people might be indicted, they might be charged, they might be behind bars, but they always get away with it. So for her to make a deal with Tariq, Kane, and Brayden, I totally got it because Jenny hasn't won a case yet. Let me say that one more time for the people in the back, okay? Jenny has not won a case yet. How many seasons? It's been 3 seasons. She ain't won a case yet, y'all. All right? So I probably will bet against her at all times. So we do have an interesting tie-in to the original Power, where we see there's like this new, I don't know if he's a U.S. Marshal or he's with the FBI, but he's following in his auntie, his Tia Angela's footsteps, where we see that this is actually Angela's nephew. And basically, we see that at the end of the episode, his mom shows up and she gives him a letter that Sax, as he basically tried to take everybody out and think of everything that he possibly could before in the event of his unlikely murder or his very likely murder. And we see that he sent a letter to him. So I don't know if it's going to have evidence on how they can actually put Tariq behind bars or Tejadas behind bars. I don't know what's going to happen, but clearly that's something that he's going to be a big character for next season, most definitely. But Kane, in the meantime, Kane is getting his siblings together. They're all like, we gotta take out Monet. I was dying laughing when he called Drew. He was like, look, you ain't gonna be no NBA housewife. And he told Diana, you ain't gonna be no sorority sister. And I was just like, I mean, he didn't lie, but he didn't have to drag them like that. Because at the end of the day, I like that we see in the conversation between Tommy and Tariq, and, kind of what Brayden's been struggling with is like, you can't be both. Clearly, we saw that Ghost thought that he could be both, and that didn't work out too well for him. And there's always going to come a certain time where you have to make that decision. You got to be one or the other. You can't be in between. You can't have the best of both worlds. And so we see all of our characters really trying to make a stand. Does Diana want to get out of the game, or is she going to commit to being in this drug business like her brother told her to? The same with Drew. Can you find love? Can you be in love and still be in this game at the same time? I think Drew is starting to realize that that's not possible. But in the meantime, we got Rashad Tate, which his character, even though he is still connected to our characters, he feels so disconnected from the rest of the cast that I don't know if it's any point to still have Rashad on the show. I mean, of course I love Lorenz Tate, but he's kind of an afterthought, and it clearly has shown throughout the course of this entire season. No matter how many times they try to weave him into kind of this overarching plot of what's happening, I just think it's either time to give Rashad Tate his own show, and let him go do his little political thing, or they need to actually give him a bigger storyline, because it just doesn't make sense for his character to be here anymore. And, you know, he's leading in, you know, basically he ends up being the Democratic nominee. He's going to be in Congress. He's going to have even more power. And he ends up proposing to Harper, which is another storyline that I just didn't understand. You know, to have a new teacher come in. Once again, Harper's character, I don't care about her. Not in a bad way, but it's just, we don't know anything about Harper. And even in their relationship, how they try to spin it, you know, they used to be old flames. He proposed to her all these times, and she said no. And in that moment, we probably should have really been happy for Rashad and Harper being engaged. But because they do nothing to actually develop Harper's character outside of just being this random love interest for another random character, Rashad Tate, it just didn't mean anything to me. Even at the end, when she overhears Davis and him talking and making this deal, you know, she leaves. But it's just like, girl, if you've known Tate his entire life, basically, you know that he is a crook, okay? Like, he will always give up his morals in order to win. Like, I don't know why you felt like you could change him or why he would be any different, but I would assume that this would have been the same issues that you had outside of him just never being faithful. I would assume that these are some of the same issues that you have had before, which also why it does not make sense that she would even want to be with Rashad. This whole dramatic thing, you want to talk about how a love story ended. It was just like, let's get rid of all these characters, because they don't bring anything to the story. They don't make, they could disappear and I probably wouldn't even remember that they were on the show. Literally. But I guess we'll have to see what's going to happen with Tate, because they know that he was behind the whole reason of the Westons going down, Tariq losing his money. So clearly we know that it's probably not the last that we've seen of Rashad, but I would really hope that the writers next season, that they figure out something more to do with his character. So in the meantime, let's go ahead and talk about Monet. So, you know, Monet's kids found out about her being behind Lorenzo's death. So they still not messing with her. So the only plan that Monet had was to go and meet with Noma. She tells her, like, hey, you can't trust Tariq. Like, I'm the only person that can keep all these kids in line, which low-key, like, yeah. But then it's still like, but how you going to do that when your kid's not messing with you? So Obi, you know, she ends up telling her about Effie. Monet tells Noma about Effie, and then she kind of looking at Obi like, why am I finding out from Monet? But you remember Tariq promised the green cards if he could stall Noma, and so Noma ends up cutting his face. The whole thing, the whole discussion between Noma and Monet, it was just weird. It felt kind of off. Noma talking about, like, well, what happened with Mecca, my fiance, and then she was just, them going, basically saying, like, I didn't love him, you know, I'll do anything, I'll kill for my family, basically, like, saying it without saying that she was responsible for Mecca's death. But the whole thing just felt very off to me, and I don't know. I'm not sold on that whole story arc either with Noma. I just feel like there's a little bit more convincing that I need. And I need more scenes like when, you know, they went overseas with the business deal and they got it with Noma to take out old dude. I just felt like I need more of that instead of these two jilted lovers. Like, it was, it just didn't sit right in my spirit. So Noma ends up cutting Obi, which was also just like, okay, girl, you gave him a cut. I was like, all right, girl. Ooh, I'm so scared. So she ends up, you know, basically telling the kids, hey, I'm in charge. And she did not have to call Brayden and Tariq trading places and then call them all Beavis and Butthead and tell them they need to get a plan together on what they're going to do. But we see that Monet asks to talk to Tariq. She puts a gun on him, like, why did you tell my kids about Lorenzo? And then he was like, I did not do that. And then he was like, what about you telling, you know, my mom, telling Tommy's mom about telling Tommy where my mom was. So she said she didn't do that either. I thought she was just lying. But then it makes sense because it was actually Diana. But this leads me into some of my issues because Monet is way too smart to be fooled by her raggedy ass kids. Tariq is too smart to be fooled by, especially Diana. Diana. That's who y'all gonna trust, Diana? I would never trust Diana. It just didn't even make sense that they would come up this plan and still be successful with it. But I'm gonna get into that a little bit later. So, Obi basically tells Tariq, like, everyone's trying to tell Tariq, like, do not take out Monet. Like, we gotta figure out another way, but I need you to, like, get these do what you need to do, but just don't try to take out Monet right now, especially when she's in good with Noma. So we see that Monet and Kane, they roll up on Brayden and his family and basically say, you need to give me my money. They robbed them of one of their paintings, and they took Brayden's brother's watch, which is really disrespectful for Kane to be flaunting a watch in front of Brayden after the fact. I was dying laughing at the whole time. He just truly don't care about him. But Monet ends up telling Kane that you kind of keep the cat whipped. And, you didn't tell me about Effie. And you sit up here saying that Effie, which I get her, everyone says Effie cannot be trusted. Like, she's ratted Tariq out once before. She would do whatever she needs to do to protect herself. Like, she literally told Kane this. So it's really weird just because y'all been smashing for like 2 episodes that all of a sudden, like, you willing to risk it all for Effie. It just also doesn't make sense. And for Kane, I just don't see Kane being somebody that will be whipped. I don't even see him really having like serious feelings for someone. He doesn't mark me as a person that would really be into all of that in the first place. So we'll talk about Effie since we already talking about Kane being whipped. So Effie's in jail, because she won't snitch on anyone. They moved her cell. We get the cell phone. Of course, it's Kane warning her that Monet's coming for her. We see her get into the fight. She was on her own, old girl. I was like, okay, girl. I was like, get her, Effie. Get her. So she ends up getting, visited by Tariq, where he says, like, hey, I'm going to get you out. And she's like, don't worry about it. I got my lawyer. I was like, Effie, who is this lawyer? Who's this lawyer, Effie? You've been talking about a lawyer for 2 whole episodes, and I still ain't seen no lawyer show up, okay? Haven't made sense. Tariq tells her, like, hey, don't get a lawyer, because if your lawyer gets you out on bail, they can still indict you months later. They only have 5 days to actually indict you. You need to stay in jail, and we're going to figure this out. But I need you to give me the information on Noma's daughter I need you to give me the picture of Noma's daughter so I can figure out who she is and find some type of leverage on Noma to get her off our back. She's like, even better, I already found her. So she said, until you get me out, I'm not giving you the info, so do what you need to do. So Lauren ends up going to see her, and they have this conversation, and when Effie was like, girl, I'm not worried about you. And I was like, no, but actually you were. You were worried about her. Like, I do feel like this whole thing with Tariq liking her and feeling like he was putting her before you and didn't really want to be with you until he thought Lauren was gone or dead. Like, you've always been worried about her. Yeah, you did what needed to be done in that situation, but girl, be honest. You was definitely worried about her, okay? Stop lying. Stop lying. But they end up getting her out because, Tariq came up with the plan with Lauren. They, basically kidnapped her parents, put the fear of the Lord into her to make her basically end up testifying and saying that Jenny made her do it. But I didn't know how you get Effie from Josefin Morales. When it was like Josefin Morales, I said, who they talking about? I had to pause. I was like, hold on a minute. I know they're not talking about Effie. How you get Effie from Josefin Morales? Y'all don't think that was weird? Did they say her name before and I'm just now catching it for the first time? I didn't know. But yeah, so she gives Tariq the info saying that her daughter's in NYU. It seems like her daughter has no idea who her mother really is. Noma lives 2 different worlds. And so just kind of getting to this theme, like, no one can really live 2 different worlds. You got to choose one or the other. So it's clear that she still wants to be with Tariq. And she kind of like, I was like, Effie, you are really down bad over Tariq. Like, what does he do? Because it's Tariq. Maybe because we didn't watch Tariq go from a little kid to being in college. But I was just like, what does Tariq do for you? Because, honey, you don't need to be down as bad. Like, especially for somebody who never wanted you. You were the second choice. It wasn't until you attempted to kill Lauren that he even wanted to be with you in the first place, okay? But he was just like, why do you think I will ever be able to trust you? Which is true, but it didn't make sense for Tariq to just let Effie go because it's like Effie can't be trusted. And just like Davis told him, even if you do get Effie out, like Effie and Lauren, they're both like liabilities that you just have walking out into the world, can come back at any point in time, just like you saw Tommy randomly pop up. It just doesn't make sense. I know Tariq is like, the more I kill people, the more I just have problems. But I was just like, this just don't feel right. It feels like you need to kill Effie, and it feels like you need to kill Lauren too. I get this, like, the sentimental thing with Lauren, but I don't know. So Effie goes off into the distance, but we know she's coming back. Brayden going through it. He like, Kiki, do you love? He didn't say that, but Kiki got cleared of her charges. She going back to Columbus. She needs time to think about her morality, and she tells him, like, you know, you should stop. Why he stepped to Kiki like that, though? I was like, dang, you finna kill Kiki? Like, she just trying to tell you, she wants you to have a better life for yourself, Brayden. But it seems that Brayden wants to get out of the game. He tells, you know, Tariq that he quits. Tariq gets upset because he was like, when I need you the most, like, you gonna quit? Which is like, yes, Brayden, you gonna be about this life or you not? Like, this back and forth, it just doesn't work for me either, okay? Figure it out. But let's go ahead and talk about Tariq. So Tariq was in the hospital. He ends up getting out. He wants to take out Monet and Tommy, but Brayden was just like, you can't do that right now. Like, chill. They look so suspicious switching this gun. I was just like, arrest them right now. Because, like, why y'all doing all of this in the hospital? Y'all couldn't get out the hospital and do this. It just didn't make sense to me. But, you know, he goes to Tommy Mama house, which has sent me because when he was telling her, like, cut the ish, I was like, damn, you gonna talk to Tommy Mama like that? Even she was like, damn, like, who you talking to like that? And then he was like, I'm sorry, ma'am. And I was just like, it's the level of disrespect for me. But when Tommy's mama asked him, did he drink Hennessy? I said, this feels racist. This feels very racist, asking, does he drink Hennessy? Okay? So he basically, she ends up telling him that, you know, somebody by the name of Monet gave a letter to her, and that's how she got the message to Tommy. And so basically he's telling him, like, hey, can you get a message to Tommy that I'm, like, looking for my mother? You know, I'm going to take you out. And then Tommy ends up finding him, like, you brought a gun in my mama's house. And I was just like, I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, he was upset. I'm going to go ahead and let all of this slide. But I do like that Uncle Tommy and Tasha, they squashed everything. Now, we do need to work on this acting and the sound effects, because when they show, I figured Tasha was the one who knocked Tariq out in the first place. But when they showed him going like, ugh, when he fell, I rewinded it like 5 times. Because I was just like, now y'all know y'all could have did this better. Y'all know that whole scene could have took another take, because that just didn't make sense to me. But Tasha and Tommy, they squashed the whole thing, even though it was giving me very, like, soap opera, dramatic, like, for no reason, out of place once again. But I was just like, it's okay. As long as I get to spend extra time with Tommy and them, and he telling her, like, hey, you know, I got a brother, and you know, I got a nephew, all these things. I was just like, y'all, can we, it's the finale. Like, let's move on to something else. But they were able to squash the beef. But at least we got to see them again. It was very random. It was just I was like, okay, fine. Beef and squash. Fine. So Tommy was right when he tells, like, either you're going to be a civilian or a gangster. You can't do both. That's what your dad tried to do. And you see what happened to your daddy. It didn't work out for him. So then he asked Tommy, like, well, why don't you have my back and go to war with me? He was like, baby boy, this ain't my war. I ain't got nothing to do with this. I'm dead, remember? So I'm going to be dead and mind my business, and I'm going to take my behind back to Chicago because I ain't got time to be playing with you. So he rode off into the little distance. And so then, you know, he goes to talk to Davis, and Davis is telling him, like, you need to really take care of Lauren and Effie. Like, this is kind of getting out of hand. You need to kill them. Because he was just like, I don't give no F no more. Just get rid of these people because y'all giving me a headache, all right? So Lauren, you know, meets up with all of them. They come with a plan. They convince Lauren to not testify. But, of course, she's, like, over Tariq because she just, like, once again, you're always lying. And I do feel like Lauren was really trying to protect Tariq and wanted to see the best in Tariq. And I still think that even though I don't think ultimately they were ever compatible, maybe if Tariq decided to go down the road of being clean and just being a normal person, I think that it would have worked. But also, too, Lauren mama a baddie. I was like, hey girl, she cute. But I didn't know what Lauren was going to do with the kitchen knife. Like, between the box cutter and the kitchen knife, like, Lauren ran. I thought you knew the people you were dealing with. It doesn't make sense to me that you're still not getting this or you're still not understanding. But to each his own. Like, but I was just like, girl, what you doing? What you finna do with it? What you gonna do with it, Lauren? What are you gonna do with the steak knife? Haven't made sense. All right. So Diana ends up going to talk to him about Monet. And then they come up with this plan of how she's going to be driving his car. he's gonna shoot her, and she's gonna say she didn't see who it was, so Kane will try to go kill him. And then the plan is kind of going like that, but once again, it doesn't make sense that Monet, who never trusts Diana, 3 seasons of her never trusting Diana, that all of a sudden she's gonna trust Diana, who's been ignoring her calls for like however 4 days, like that. Monet's smarter than that. I feel like Tariq's smarter than that. It didn't make sense that anyone fell for this plan. So what didn't happen, what ends up not happening, is Tariq shooting her because Tasha pulls up and takes her out, which made sense. Because, like, girl, you put my life at risk and then you put my son's life at risk. So, yeah, you got to go. Thank you, Tasha, for being a good mama. So she takes the bullet for Diana. Now Diana feeling all sorry, like, she tried to protect me. She took the bullet, tried to protect me. And then she say it was Tariq that did it. Drew looking like, dang, like, what? And then I'm like, huh? And I was like, ooh, not a rat. And so then we find out that Diana and Drew had this plan after they initially got into it with Monet in last week's episode. They was going to take her out. They were going to blame it on Tariq. And they were going to, Tariq is just collateral damage because Kane can't know it was them. Kane crazy. He probably would have took out his whole family. So, yeah. So they stick it to the story, and that's what's going to happen. And I would never in my life let Diana get one up on me. And Drew, too. Drew's been making reckless, poor, dumb decisions this entire season. For him to all of a sudden be able to do all of this and Kane not suspect anything, especially after they were telling Kane they wanted to take her out, that don't make sense. It don't make sense. I said I'm going to let them upset me. I'm sorry. So, Monet in the hospital, she in critical condition. They blame Tariq. Tariq ends up meeting with his mama Tasha, and she tells him, he tells her about the trust fund money being gone, and he was like, I need to have power. I need to have money so I can take care of this family. And so she tells her, you basically need to get close to Noma, take everything that she has, learn her business. He goes to talk to Noma, and basically, Effie ends up turning against him. Kane, Drew, Diana, they've already went to Noma. So they pull a gun. They was about to clip him. But then Brayden comes in and saves the day. Obi was looking out. And he told Brayden what was going down. Brayden came back. He took care of him. I did feel like some people needed to get shot or die. Effie was number 1 on that list for me. Diana's another one that's number 1 on that list for me as well. But yeah, so they were like, I think we just started a war. And I was like, you think? And now it just... Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I wasn't a fan of this finale. I just felt like for the characters that we've known for 3 seasons, Diana would never be smart enough to get one over on me. Kane not realizing, the same Kane who figured out Lorenzo before anybody else, not gonna realize his siblings literally just tried to tell him, let's take out mama. No, that he wouldn't suspect them. And then Tariq letting Effie, who no one on the show trusts, none of this makes sense to me, y'all. It really doesn't make sense to me. But now they need to bring 2-Bit back, and because Tariq needs soldiers. It can't just be Brayden. Definitely not Brayden. I'm not putting my life in Brayden's hands. I'm happy that he went to go save him, but I'm not going to put my life in Brayden's hands. So yeah, I wasn't a fan of this finale. I just felt like none of these decisions that were made, it didn't make sense. Monet in the hospital because her raggedy ass kids, the whole thing was just dumb to me. I'm sorry. The writing, I just think the season should have ended with last week's episode. I think we ended on a high note, and I think for this episode, it never once came close to last week's episode. And so I think you need to end the season on a high note, not on a womp womp. No. It just, I'm tired. Overall, I still like this season. I just felt like the finale just really let me down. We've been having issues in some of these episodes in this season where the writing just doesn't make sense and characters make decisions that don't make sense to who they've been this entire series. But this was just terrible. It was terrible. Just let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Do you agree? None of these decisions or people getting one up on all these people made sense to me. I don't know what they're going to do with season 4, but I need them to figure it out. And honestly, I think I want new people on here because the fact that some of these characters have survived for 3 seasons doesn't make sense to me either. And I don't think there's characters that I feel this close connection to outside of Tariq. So yeah, I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on this. I could be in the minority for it. Everyone could think it's the best finale ever. I don't know. Let me know in the comment section below what you think. Those are my thoughts on Power Book 2 Go Season 3, Episode 10. Divided we stand. As always, my name is Sharona from payorwait. And if you like what you saw today, make sure you hit the like button, hit subscribe, share this video with your friends, and make sure you hit the notification bell. And I love you guys 3000. And until I see you again, Bye.